You're watching Fantasy Studs and Suds, only on Fantasy Now Plus.
Hey there. Welcome everybody to episode 12 of Fantasy Studs and Suds, brought to you by the Fantasy Now Plus and the Funz Talk Sports Network. I am the Fantasy Nobody, Jeffrey Crisp, and alongside of me is my co-host, CJ Pudge LePage. Our segments today will include Fantasy Studs on the Precipice, 3 players headed for a fall in 2025. Fantasy Leagues, it's a date, difficulty setting draft dates. Fantasy Priority, Beyond the 3. We continue our series on players that are the 4th, 5th, or lesser fantasy options on NFL teams. Fantasy Suds, we present our Brews of the Week. And Fantasy Funz, another round of A or B. Pudge, how you feeling today?
I am fantastic now that I've got my buddy and pal, the Fantasy Nobody, back. I do have a surprise from Mr. Josh Kimmel a little bit later. So I hope you're watching out there. And today will be a much better structured day for us. We won't go off the rails as much, hopefully.
Well, we'll see how that goes. But I am happy to return after an unavoidable absence last week. And I want to thank Josh Kimmel for filling my spot on extremely short notice. So, you know what, Josh, Pudge has coming for you later in the show, that one's for you. So, yes, I'm glad to be back. So, without further ado, on to Fantasy Studs. So, inevitably and invariably, performance declines as a player ages. While injuries can accelerate or exacerbate this declination, sometimes a player simply has reached a career snap count. NFL teams may continue to benefit from these players with diminishing performance. I mean, there's always a spot for somebody to add to the team. For fantasy, however, these players often have no use on a GM's roster, opting for replacements with greater opportunity. Pudge and I review 3 players who are potentially on the precipice in 2025 and may not provide the point support to which GMs were accustomed. Pudge, who's your first?
Up first, I've got a man who turns 29 years old next week, and that's usually not very good for a running back. This running back is going 48th overall, and he's running back 19 for the Houston Texans, Joe Mixon. Last year was a mixed bag. He had the high ankle sprain. He was out for a few weeks. And it was a tale of 2 seasons, really. They did not use him very much in the last fourth quarter, the less than 4 minutes left in the game. They totally went away from Joe Mixon. So if they have a running back that can catch balls, Woody Marks, it's not going to be Nick Chubb. They will utilize him, I believe, a lot more. Last year, he had 52 targets and 36 total receptions. He had 1,300 yards from scrimmage, which is great. You know, that's what we want from our running back one. But this year, his offensive line took a hit. They lost Laramie Tunsil, Shaq Mason. They both departed. And it is terrible that they are ranked 32nd per Pro Football Network. It's criminal that they didn't do anything in the draft, really, to upgrade that line for their star quarterback. And they brought in wide receivers, but they didn't give their quarterback time to throw the ball. I don't know what the thought process was there. And Nick Chubb is uncertain, but he's 1 year removed from that gruesome injury. And I believe that he's going to cut in on that first and second goal to go type stuff. He's definitely going to be used in the red zone. He won't be used as much, I think, between the 20 to 20. That's going to be a Joe Mixon thing. But in the red zone and in the green zone, 10 yards and less, I really think that they're going to go with Nick Chubb because he's just a better runner.
I think you and I have spoken before about Houston, and it's really difficult to really understand what you're going to get from the Texans. I know, after 2023 in the season that, the rookie had at quarterback, why am I drawing a blank? Wow. But CJ Stroud, but when he, the season he had, I think there was a lot of lofty expectations for Houston, and that just didn't develop last year. And I know you and I have talked a little bit about Nico Collins. We're not going to go down that path right now, but I think, for me, I'm trying to shy away from any player that's on the Texans roster at this point because I just don't know what to expect.
I agree. And we don't have to go down the Nico Collins rabbit hole, but I agree with Jamie. It is hard to believe that he has been out there for 8 seasons already, and he's got a lot of wear and tear. He does have soft tissue issues when it comes to his ankle. Last year, he had that, what's the new rule that they came up with where you can't tackle the drop hip tackles? He had 2 of those last year, and they took him out for 4 games, I believe, and it was tough for him to finish the year with 16 games under his belt. But we're going to move on to another running back who is also getting up there in age. He's only played 1 successful year as total 16 games, and that was last year. James Conner, he has only made it through 2024 healthy. He has only ran over 1,000 yards twice in his career. Last year, he went down to 4.6 yards per carry. That's pretty dramatic, going from 5.0 yards per carry to 4.6. Although he had the most receptions in his career at Arizona, not with the Steelers, he had, I think, 47 receptions total, which is 1 more than he had in 2021. But Kyler expressed that he has a desire to use his legs more than ever this next coming season. And at 50th overall and running back 20, I don't see him being that guy. That's why they brought in Trey. They're going to utilize him and run him into the ground, but I don't see him getting the amount of balls that he was throwing last year, and it's going to decrease. And I don't see him finishing another year healthy as he did last year. You got anything to say about Mr. Conner? I mean, there's not much.
Well, my question overall is with these 2 running backs. I mean, obviously, you're at the overall position. You're looking at, a 5th round pick in redraft. Are you relying on these in a redraft league? Are you relying on these 2 as your RB2, or are you moving on to someone else?
I'm looking for a player like Travis Etienne, a player like maybe Jerome Ford now that his running mate is going to be suspended for at least 6 games, it looks like. I don't want to get into that, but a first-time suspension for a player with a domestic violence, whatever that may be. I don't want to touch that exactly. If you don't want him on your team, I understand. But that's 6 games, and that's going to be 6 games out of his rookie season. So that 6 games out of his rookie season is going to make Jerome Ford a value pick right now, especially not knowing anybody behind him. There's not a real Dylan Sampson is not proven, and there's no real running back behind him. So those are the guys that I'm going to gravitate to. I would look at a player like Javonte Williams, maybe Miles Sanders. Those are the guys that I'm going to look toward instead of these guys. I'll go wide receiver heavy, maybe get my tight end in the first couple rounds if they're available, but go after those wide receivers. The dead zone for running back is going to be a renaissance, and you are going to be able to pick up some guys not named James Conner and not named Joe Mixon. that are going to really spice up your team.
Yeah, for me, in a dynasty league, I think we've seen the best of their days. I think this is, I think this season especially is going to prove. I don't even know that I don't know that Joe Mixon even hits RB19. I don't know that Connor hits RB20 when all is said and done for the year. You're not going to get much for them. You might be able to move Mixon to a team during the season if he is still healthy and someone needs running back help. But otherwise, if he's on your team, if you can make a move and try to find someone else for the running back position, great. If you can stash him on your roster, use him in the flex position as necessary, then great. But do not anticipate their prime is well over. That's nothing profound just saying that, but it is those are definitely two that I want to move on for. Let's talk about your third.
So it's kind of easy, and it's kind of a layup, but Deebo Samuel. Long story short, his production has dipped, since his magical season in 2021. His receptions per game is lower than his rookie year. It was 3.4. Now, granted, he's on the Commanders, different team, but teams know when their players turn into pedestrians. Look at Chad Johnson, Julio Jones, DeAndre Hopkins, Andre Johnson, Amari Cooper, and maybe this other guy. I'm not going to mention his name, but the fantasy nobody. They know when to move on from the fantasy nobody. You know what I mean? That guy, he was in his prime a few years ago. He thinks he could beat me in a race, but he can't. But that is going to be a huge red flag when a team trades you and you are declining in production. Those guys I just mentioned are all Hall of Fame guys. I would say maybe not Amari Cooper. We'll see. But those are all Hall of Fame guys, and all those guys got traded late in their careers and totally turned into pumpkins. Those guys that are not going to be the guy, which we all anticipate Terry McLaurin to be that guy. At wide receiver 39, I believe you can go a different route. I would go with maybe a Jameson Williams. I would go with, let's say, if you're not going to go high floor, go with a high, or I mean with a high ceiling. Go with a low high floor. Excuse me. If you're not going to go with a high ceiling, go with a high floor. There we go. But those guys are going to be guys like Terry McLaurin, which is on the same team, Cortland Sutton, Jacoby Myers. Those guys are going to be the guys that I would gravitate to over Deebo Samuel. And they're likely going to have a much higher floor than Deebo will have. His production is just slipping, and he might be a gadget guy. But I don't see him being any more than a wide receiver 4, maybe a flex play if you need him on a bye week.
Now, I know with those three players, I already mentioned, not really profound. A lot of analysts, a lot of people out there understand the decline in their performance and maybe expecting the same thing. But we just talked about somebody a few moments ago, and the reason we didn't include this person was because we didn't want two people from the same team. But I want you to just briefly touch on, because this one's a little bit more of a surprise, given the fact that for Dynasty, he's a wide receiver 1 currently ranked for Dynasty, but you believe he's actually seen his better days. Do you have anything real quick you want to touch on, Mr. Collins?
All right, so Nico Collins, I already talked about the offensive line, right? They're going to have trouble getting him the ball. They just brought in 2 wide receivers back-to-back, second, third rounds. They haven't signed their second round pick yet, but a lot of teams haven't. That is a thing that's going around the league. A lot of teams have just started the domino effect with their second rounders wanting guaranteed money. So he's not in camp yet, but he will be. Fortunately, they brought in Jalen Noel. It's going to be a crapshoot week to week. We saw last year what they did with Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs was the alpha in that room. It wasn't Nico Collins. Nico Collins has a history of always being hurt. And with that soft tissue history, those guys tend to get hurt over and over. T. Higgins, AJ Green, those guys have an issue with staying on the field. While they're on the field, they're doing pretty great. And you're correct, Jamie. Absolutely. They've got Christian Kirk in the slot. They also have a tight end that he's not very athletic, but he's going to catch some passes. And while he's going to want to probably dump off to the short guys, the guys that are going to be in the middle of the field, the tight ends, the running backs, it's not going to be Mixon, and it's not going to be Nico Collins, where he makes most of his gravy on the outside as the X receiver. It's just the way it is. Laramie Tunsil gone, Shaq gone. What are they going to do on the offensive line? They have nobody that's proven, and it's going to be tough for him to push the ball down the field.
Well, our own Mr. Kimmel here said that he had been trading for Jerome Ford. I know that I actually received an offer in one of my leagues. It was a ridiculously stupid offer, so I declined it. But I do know that there have been GMs out there making that move. So good for you, Josh. So these players may be facing performance decline, but commissioners often face insanity when trying to schedule their league's live draft. Commissioners are responsible for so many aspects of the leagues over which they preside. Some tasks are fun, some are tedious, and then others are just downright burdensome. While many commissions will point to finances as the biggest pain they face, others agree with me that nothing is more frustrating than trying to establish the date and time for a live or online fast draft. Difficult is trying to get 12 league mates to agree on anything. Almost impossible is nailing down a date and time that will work for everyone involved. I watch the commissioners in some of the leagues I am in attempt to navigate the calendar quagmire only to disappoint or anger someone. It is a no-win situation for commissioners. Now, Pudge, I know you have experienced this.
Yeah, and it's tough. The best way to do it is just stick with the date, right? Have a date that everybody can do annually. I don't want to bag on what you already have as a response, because I already know you're going to bring some of the stuff up. But most of my leagues, especially home leagues, if you can have a centered date, I mean, it's the only way that you can do it annually. Now, some of these other dates that are ancillary, they're not live drafts, blah, blah, blah. That's fine. You can have those, and those guys can be, it could be while you're at work, you can draft. Those things are not too big of an issue. But if you want to expand on our home league and how we have our structured dates, then that'd be awesome.
Well, again, I think you and I are such in lockstep when it comes to how leagues are operated. I mean, we've talked before about how we started Last Bastion Goal Line Defiance Fantasy Football League back in 2012 and why we did what we did. So I think, it's no it's no surprise that you're talking about the same thing that I'm about to discuss, because when you are in numerous leagues as we are, there's really only one method to ensure there are no debates over dates and that there are no conflicts between leagues, and that is consistent date scheduling. You have to do that. In Last Bastion, our draft date and time has been the same for more than a decade. Our draft is always 8 p.m. the Saturday of the weekend before Labor Day weekend. It does not change. Some GMs in that league who have been there since year one somehow seem to think it changes every year. It does not change. So I know for a fact that in 2028, we will be drafting Saturday, August 26th. It's
not the 27th?
It's not the 27th, not the 25th, not 4 p.m., not midnight. It'll be 8 p.m. Saturday, August 26th, 2028. Now, I also know another league that I'm in that drafts the very next day at 1 p.m. every single year. So again, our draft for Last Bastion this year is August 23rd, 8 p.m. The next draft I know I will be attending is at 1 p.m. on August 24th. Every year. It makes it simple. There's no question. People have a whole entire year or longer to schedule their lives around the draft if they really want to be a participant in the league. So why is this important? By doing this, commissioners are not exhausting themselves every offseason trying to get everyone on board. That is a pain. Chasing people down, like I said, chasing people down for money, yeah, it's a pain, but the draft just grinds on commissioners. And plus, every GM knows far in advance, like I said, when their draft will be conducted. If a GM is invited to another league, they also know exactly which dates and times they are unavailable for other drafts. This just happened to me this year. I was invited to participate in a home league, was eager to be involved, but unfortunately the dates conflicted, and Last Bastion and my other leagues that I've been in for years obviously are going to take precedence. So it really helps when you know, hey, I can do other weekends. This weekend, leave it alone.
I can't refute that. That's exactly how I feel. It makes it easy for everyone. So
yeah, agreed. So getting beyond the scheduling quagmire is necessary for drafts. Getting beyond the top 3 players on NFL rosters for your fantasy team's drafts or roster management is also important. When perusing NFL rosters for running back, wide receiver, and tight end, spotting 3 players with significant fantasy relevance is rarely difficult. With many rosters, however, identifying contributors past those 3 players may take a little more work. Today, we continue Beyond the 3, a multi-part series where we will isolate 1 or 2 players on each team's roster we believe can contribute to your fantasy team's success. These are players that may already be a mid-round target for fantasy GMs, or they may be late-round sleepers. They may even be undrafted free agents sitting on the wire. This week, we will feature Cincinnati, Buffalo, Denver, Cleveland, Tampa Bay, and Arizona. Please note that all rankings provided are courtesy of Fantasy Pros and based on Dynasty half-point PPR, 0.1 points per yard, and 6 points per TD. With that said, Pudge, why don't you kick us off with Cincinnati?
Sorry, I've got Big Mike Gesicki from the U. Yes, the U, tight end university. He's going 185th overall. He's tight end 27. Come on. That's crazy to me, especially because he's in his second year with the Bengals, who are going to be in a shootout. Their second-round pick has gone back to Texas A&M and is practicing with them. They got rid of Greg Pratt. They have a conundrum at defensive end. They haven't paid him yet. Now that the Michael Parsons will be paid pretty soon, it'll be a crazy big amount that he's either going to be paid or he's not going to play this season, I guess. So we'll see. But that's a pretty high octane offense that Zach Taylor's amassed. The defense is going to rely on rookies to fill the key holes. I don't see them doing anything but scoring. It's going to be a lot of scoring, especially with T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, and Chase Brown. We had some love over there on our Dynasty in 30. They were talking a lot about my guy, Taj Brooks, and I was loving every second of it. I think he's going to have a bigger role than what they say, but we won't talk about him today. Okay, we're not
Well,
gonna get too far into him unless the fantasy nobody wants to talk about him.
we have a little A or B coming up soon. So
Okay,
for me, it's
okay.
and I always get this name wrong. I to this day I still can't. I think it's Andre Ioshevich, and
Taj,
he's what's that?
Taj.
Oh,
Jamie loves Taj. I
yes.
love Taj Brooks.
Well, back to Andre. Back to Ioshevich. Right now, he is overall 213, wide receiver 88. I mean, basically, he is a waiver wire pickup unless you're in a very deep league. He is someone that, again, as long as T. Higgins and Jamar Chase are healthy, he is not going to enjoy a great target share. In the event of an injury, however, Ioshevich is someone who can really, really step up and be a contributor in that offense. There's no question, and we can sit there and argue with Andrew Hall all day about the defense of Cincinnati, but that offense moves. And if he has the opportunity and is on the field in the event of injury, he is someone that is going to contribute, and he is definitely someone worth a stash in a deep rostered league. On to Buffalo.
Yeah, Andrew.
Did you have a comment about?
Andrew, he was very adamant that they would get their stuff together. We call it in the Navy, we call it poop in a group, and their defense would be just fine. So, Andrew, if you're watching, we'll see about that.
Well, we get to see him tomorrow at Scott Fishbowl, Michigan. So Michigan Live, so that'd be great. All right, Buffalo.
I'm excited. Let's see, there we go, and off the rails. I'll do that anytime if you let me. So it's not an easy offense to grasp, right? This is a very complex offense that they have put together over there with Josh Allen. Let's not forget that Keon Coleman was pretty raw coming out of college. But 19 yards per reception was second among wide receivers last year. He had 556 yards. His ADOT was 15.2, which is sixth among wide receivers. Keon Coleman going 109 as wide receiver 48. Man, you could do a lot worse. And who else is going to be there? Can you name their wide receivers?
No. And it's what's interesting about Buffalo is the fact that when we get around to my player, it's like the fact. I mean, it's kind of crazy. They're just, when it comes to the skilled players beyond Josh Allen, it's not deep.
I mean, they got Dixon, tight end.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody else that's going to be catching balls except for Khalil Shakir, and he's going to be a sneaky good play. But I really think Keon Coleman can bring it on this year if he can grasp that offense. But like I said, that offense is not easy to get a hold of. It took Josh Allen quite a long time, but once he did, it was a big thing. He's going to be a big target as far as Josh getting him the ball. And he's fast. So if he can grasp it, get those routes down, get the route tree all set, he's going to be Elijah Moore and Josh Palmer. My point exactly, Jamie. You say what you will about Elijah Moore. I had high hopes for him when he was playing with the Jets after his sophomore year. He kept on going down and down. He seems like a cancer in the locker room. I don't know that personally. It's just what I've heard. But I think Keon Coleman in this wide receiver 48 is a pretty good, flag to plant.
I'm taking Coleman over both of those players as well. Again, those are serviceable players, but I don't think we're going to see anything out of them with this move. I just don't think we're going to see anything out of them that differs from what we've seen from them before. They're going to be contributors, for the teams, for the NFL teams themselves, but for a fantasy perspective, I just don't know that we're going to want them in our starting lineups. For me, the other player is Ray Davis. It's interesting the fact that he's an RB4 right now, going overall 160, and I think that we were talking earlier before about running backs, and I think Ray Davis is somebody. If I can grab some better wide receivers and wait on Ray Davis and take him versus maybe not so much Mixon, but
James White.
Who was our other guy? James Conner. I probably wouldn't mind doing that. I'd rather have Ray Davis later and like I said, pivot and take some key wide receivers and then wait on Davis than to Connor. That may be unpopular, but I think Davis still is has enough to contribute there in Buffalo. What about Denver?
All right, Denver. Now we broke everybody's RJ Harvey's heart when J.K. Dobbins signed there. The RJ Harvey truthers had to take a nice large pill and swallow it. That's not saying that he's not going to be part of the offense. They obviously spent a high round draft pick getting him, but J.K. Dobbins is going to be fed in the two-back system. While healthy, Dobbins should take all the early down work and work well with Knicks' RPOs, so they can't queue on just him. And that Sean Payton is going to run that RPO system just like he did last year. Now they did lose Odinsky to the Jaguars, their offensive coordinator. I don't think it's going to matter much over there in Denver. We all know that Sean Payton is a mastermind with the offense. And I'm pretty much going out on a limb here and saying that it's going to mirror a lot like Baltimore. When Lamar had Dobbins and they were in the RPO, it looked pretty darn good. And while healthy, they did a lot of damage. I think Dobbins is going to be a sneaky good pick. Much better than your James Conner pick. Much better than Joe Mixon. He's one of those guys. He's going as RB52 right now and 179 overall. So that right there is telling that he's being undervalued pretty substantially.
Are you making a move for him if given the opportunity in a dynasty league?
Dynasty depends on if my team is rebuilding or not. I've got two dynasty teams that I am in pretty rebuild mode. I've got my wide receivers, I got my tight end, and I am now looking for running backs. Probably, I would trade them I would trade a second round pick for Dobbins right now.
Okay.
You want to make?
Well, I'd have to look at my rosters. I'm in way too many leagues. I just realized that this week, way too many leagues. So I don't even know. Literally, you can probably take the entire an entire ranking sheet, and I probably have every one of those players. It's bad. My player for Denver is is Mims.
Denzel Mims?
I think not Denzel Mims. No.
Marvin Mims?
Marvin Mims. I think, I think he's being overlooked. I think, you were talking about some of those players like Josh Palmer or more. And I certainly I'm looking at Mims way over that. And again, other than, after Sutton, it's Mims, correct? Who you have the rookie, right? Is there? You always have to help me out here. I'm so bad.
You have Evan Ingram, and he's going to play that Joker position for Peyton, but other
Pat
than
Bryant. That's Pat
Mims,
Bryant
you got
is the guy.
KJ. I think KJ Hamler's gone. And right now, Mims is going as wide receiver 63. So he's going just before his counterpart, J.K. Dobbins. He's overall 147, about a couple rounds. But 147 for a guy that produced last year, I don't have much at stake with Marvin Mims, but he's a guy that I tried to pick up last year pretty cheap at the end of the year. He had some really good games. I'm trying to think of where he was as a wide receiver in. I can't think of who the rookie was. He was highly touted, got drafted late. Do you remember his name?
Last year for Denver?
Yeah. I can't remember his name. Darn it.
I'm drawing a blank as well. I know right now it's the player they have is or you're thinking Franklin?
Yes, Troy Franklin. That's right.
Yeah.
I don't think Troy Franklin's going to be doing much. Sorry I didn't have that right on the tip of my tongue, but sometimes stuff like that happens. I think
Pat Bryant would play a bigger role than Franklin.
Yeah, and last year, Vele, he had a pretty good year. But if you look at how many attempts he had 52 attempts. That was, third on the team. The only one that had more, the only wide receiver that had more was Cortland Sutton. So that's a good plant for your flag. I would go that all day long, especially at that price.
Well, and you look at the wide receivers that are right around him. I mean, you got Rashad Bateman, Cedric Tillman, Kyle Williams, Romeo Doubs, Xavier Legette, Marquise Brown. I'm taking Mims over all Christian Kirk before that. I'm taking Mims before all of those players.
Absolutely.
Especially if Bo Nix repeats what he did last year, if they continue to increase the passing game, and I want him. So,
I mean, he had 39 receptions for 500 yards, and that's pretty darn good. So, if you're going for those kind of guys, those are going to be guys. Obviously, you're not starting every week, but those are guys that you plug and play for your bye weeks, and they're high floor plays, which that's what you want. That's what I go for. I don't go for floor. I go for the swing. I go for the fences when I go for my guys that are late in rounds.
Well, I think that's important. We said it early on, but we'll repeat it again. These are not players that we're stating should be in your starting lineups or players that you want to draft early. These are players that once you get beyond the three top players on the team, excluding quarterbacks, these are players that could potentially provide you value. And Mims is definitely, he fits that bill. So let's go on to Cleveland.
So Cleveland, we got another tale of two seasons. Cedric Tillman. Once they got rid of Amari Cooper and he was traded to the Bills, man, it was wheels up for Tillman. Tillman, respectively, 12 targets, 9 targets, 11 targets, 8 targets, and then he went out with his concussion and he was out for the year. Now, if you want a guy with production like another guy that has concussion problems, and I know yuck Cleveland, Jamie, yes, Cleveland is going to be down and they're going to be throwing the ball though. I don't care too much that they have a rookie quarterback and or it's going to be Flacco whomever, anybody is going to be better than Deshaun Watson, and I don't believe he's going to be playing this year. Maybe he has a miracle and does for whatever reason, but Cedric Tillman was a huge part of that offense. He averaged, listen to this, yards per reception, 10.1, 14.1, 12.5, 15.7, 14. And these are all with pedestrian quarterbacks. You're not going in there with a guy that's awesome. These are pedestrian quarterbacks. And after Amari Cooper was gone, he was the center, he was the focal point of the offense. So I expect him to pick up exactly where he left off last year, sans concussion. What about you, sir? You got anything for Cedric Tillman?
No. I mean, I think, like I said before, I mean, I'll take Tillman. There's other guys around that range that I'd rather have. Cedric Tillman was someone I had in several leagues and held on to him and kept expecting a. There was always a roster ad. It was when we are having a hard time today remembering names. The receiver from Dallas.
CeeDee Lamb?
Wow. No, that played in Cleveland. Went to Cleveland.
Amari Cooper.
You just said it right. Yeah. So
it's all good.
It's
all good.
It's the water.
It's the water.
It's the water. Amari Cooper, he showed up, so he kind of, tempered expectations from Tillman. I have a problem sometimes not relying on projections and stats and relying on how a player has not performed for me, and they get on my bleep list, and he's one of them on my bleep list. So that's not fair. I mean, again, you should be. It's kind of like playing a certain hand in poker. You should always be playing the probabilities and the odds and the pot odds, but sometimes you just do stupid things. And sometimes I have a player I don't like him, and not the person, just his fantasy performance, and I don't put him on my team. For me, we already talked about this. We were just talking about this gentleman a little while ago, and for me, it's Jerome Ford. It was amazing that how he's fallen. I think he was around RB 60 at one point. I understand you brought in the two rookies, and that was even before the situation that you've already mentioned. But I did not envision Ford having, the carries removed from him as dramatically as this would suggest. I think Jerome Ford is still a viable RB3 for teams, and I mean, that's my expectation. I know that we talked about Josh, going out and trying to get them, and now especially with the situation that has transpired, Jerome Ford is definitely someone who you want to target. And my guess is if we looked at recent ADP, that's probably gone up considerably.
Yeah, and Jerry Jeudy's going to be expensive, right? He's going to take a lot of targets. He was another one that did not take a big leap until Amari was gone. So there's that, and it looks like I've lost. There he is. I thought I lost the fantasy nobody for a second, but he's back. And like I said, these guys, sans big time injury, are going to provide points for you. They are going to be high. They're going to be high ceiling guys that could fall off the face of the earth. So don't come at me with the ats. But it's going to be one of those seasons for Cedric Tillman, Jerome Ford, maybe Njoku takes a big step forward again. But they have Harold Finn in there, so who knows? There's a reason they took Fannin. They probably didn't want to pay Njoku anymore, and he's getting up there in age. Granted, he is from the U. Don't worry about that because all the good tight ends are from the U or Iowa. But you get what I'm saying over there.
I do. Tampa Bay.
We talked a little bit about Tampa Bay, and Josh Kimmel was riled up about Rachaad White and how he is way overvalued. I don't know if I agree with him. Running back 39 for a running back that has finished in the top 10 in 2023 sounds pretty spicy to me. I'm going to dabble with that. At 144 overall, that is exactly where I would love to take a guy like Rachaad White. I know he's going to rumble for 3 yards in a cloud of dust. They have one of the best offensive lines in all of football. That's it. That's all I'm looking for. They're on a good offense. Granted, they lost their offensive coordinator, but I think that they're going to be just fine under Todd Bowles.
If you get White in round 12, round 13 as a your RB 3 or 4, I don't think that is overrated at all. I'm not going to say that Irving and White is a similar situation to Gibbs and Montgomery. Don't get me wrong, they're not the same, but again, there's plenty of room in these platoons that we have in NFL teams for performance. And I think while White may not do what Irving does, White can definitely be a contributor, and I would gladly have White in a flex position on my roster, especially depending on matchup. You may not always start him, but there are definitely going to be enough enticing matchups to make White scoring for you. At this position, this is definitely not overrated.
He was actually pretty enthralled about Sean Tucker this year. I don't know why they went away from Sean Tucker last year after he had that good game, but they did. And there was a reason why. Maybe it's his pass protection. So who knows? But they're not going to give Bucky Irving all those carries. There's no way he's going to hold up. No. He's the Devon Achane type running back. Just like they don't want to give Jahmyr Gibbs all those touches. They want to split it up. And I think Tampa Bay actually wants to run the ball more than what they let on. I think they had to throw the ball a lot last year. They got a little behind in games, but we'll see. I think that Rachaad White is going to be a pretty good addition. And if Mr. Kimmel would like to make a small wager, let's say Busch Light versus whatever he's got going on over there, those sours that he likes, we'll put a wager on that and see who has the better year, Sean Tucker or Rachaad White.
Okay, and help me out with this one, Jalen McMillan.
Okay, Jalen McMillan is not – he's no longer McMillions. He's more like McDonald's because he's a dime a dozen, and they just drafted one of the better wide receivers in all of college football. Egbuka is the man. Chris Godwin is returning. Big Mike Evans is going to do Big Mike Evans things. And there is no room for McMillions to make any millions. He's going to be lost in the shuffle. Cade Otton is going to catch more balls this year. Evan, I absolutely agree with Bucky there. Everybody knows Evan. He actually touted my guy Taj Brooks on Dynasty for 30, so thank you very much, sir. But I don't think that McMillions is going to do much of anything this year. He's going to fall to the wayside. He was a decent pickup, but everybody thought Breece Hall was going to be, or who was the guy before Breece Hall? Oh, man. Running back. Had a running back one season. Oh, boy, oh, boy. Anyway, if you know that, put it in the comments. I'll throw it up there. But then they drafted Breece Hall, and Breece Hall took over for the Jets, right? Those guys that are flash in the pans or dime a dozen, they get overshadowed by talent, and talent shows through. Egbuka is going to be the guy. He's the future of the franchise over there at wide receiver. Hopefully Mike Evans can get close to a ring in the NFC Championship game against the Lions this year, but not win.
Well, he's, the fact that he's rated right in there, a couple of receivers before him, right before him, Jacoby Myers. I'll take Jacoby Myers. Keon Coleman, Darnell Mooney, Cooper Kupp, Stephon Diggs. I mean, maybe in that range, but I'll take Jacoby Myers all day. Arizona.
So we talked a little bit about Arizona earlier, and we know that Mr. James Conner is not going to stay healthy, right? That's a foregone conclusion. So Trey Benson is the man. He's the man. He's next up. They spent a high draft pick on him. He is going as running back 36 and 128 overall. Benson didn't have much. Yes, I was thinking of Michael Carter, who also plays for the Arizona Cardinals, and was picked up by them. But like I said, Michael Carter was put even further to the bench because they drafted Trey Benson. So that tells you what franchises believe in players that are a dime a dozen. And I know that James Conner didn't get hurt until week 17, but that was like a toss-up. I think that he didn't play because they were out of the playoffs, but he was going to. Correct me if I'm wrong, for sure. But I didn't think he was actually hurt. I think they rested him because of it wasn't a meaningful game, and he was kind of banged up. So he would have played 17 out of the 18 games last year. I know he only played 16. But Trey Benson, he's going to be the guy, I believe. They spent a high draft pick on him, and there's a reason that guys get drafted high. It's because teams believe in them. And egos sometimes outweigh a lot of good decision making, let's say. So I believe that Trey Benson is a pretty decent dart throw on a really bad Arizona Cardinals team.
Well, we love players beyond the three that are ready for your roster. Pudge and I also look beyond the three U.S. macro breweries, except for apparently he didn't, for excellent craft beer. Suds up. So we prefer our craft beer, but we also prefer to be responsible. If you are not drinking at home, you must have a plan for safety. Ensure you have alternate transportation because there is no I am okay to drive. Before you consume 1 ounce, think of your family, your friends, your colleagues, and those you do not even know and how a failure to plan can impact them. Do not destroy your life, the lives of your loved ones, or the lives of others. Do not go to jail. Do not injure or kill someone. Do what is legal. Do what is smart. Do what is right. Do not get behind the wheel of a car after alcohol has touched your lips. I know after that it feels like we should move along, but you can enjoy beer and still be responsible. Pudge, what beer are you enjoying today? Although I'm not sure your choice is very responsible.
Well, I'm taking advice from Josh Kimmel, the man, the myth, the legend that, he filled in pretty well for my Fantasy Nobody's counterpart. And that is going to be a Busch Light Lime, folks. Busch Light Lime. It's delicious. It tastes just like a summer afternoon. Cheers.
So I am going to practice what I preach, and I am not actually going to have a beer on today's show because I have a long drive. Right after this show, I have to head to the airport to pick up a friend of ours, a league mate and friend of ours from the airport who is participating in Scott Fishbowl Michigan Live, coming in from California. So I will partake in beverages later this evening when Ubift is an option. So I have water. And so cheers, though, everyone.
Hey, sometimes you got to be responsible. Josh Kimmel didn't have anything last week either because he had to do this thing called work. Crazy, I know, but you never.
They don't let you drink while you're working. That's
Travesty.
Don't like that job.
Really?
No.
Hey, I mean, what are we doing right now? I'm drinking on the job.
Yes, you are. Well, a sip of suds for me, a sip of suds for you will then take us to A or B. I will present two options, and Pudge and I will decide for each of us which option we'd prefer. You ready? Yeah, you're ready.
I'm always ready.
First A or B?
Come on. Bring it.
First A or B? A, Rashard Smith, or B, Taj Brooks?
That's not Taj Brooks all the way. And that's for my boy, Evan. And Will. Because I think Will actually liked Taj too. So those guys, they know their stuff over there in Dynasty and 30.
I don't know that I want either one of them. I'll probably go Taj Brooks. I have Rashard Smith on a few of my rosters. I don't have Taj Brooks on any of my rosters, so apparently I didn't. Brooks was going a little bit earlier than what I. No, I just wasn't going to take him as earlier as he was going to go. So you can have Brooks. Moving on. I'll take Brooks in that scenario between A or B, but you can have him. Second A or B. Marvin Harrison Jr. or a 2026 and 2027 mid to late round one draft picks.
Mid to late?
Yep, mid to late.
Well, the fact that oh man, that's tough. I'm going to go with Marvin Harrison Jr. I don't believe that anybody you're going to get unless it's Ted McMillan, because Ted McMillan went in the middle of rounds unfairly to him, but I think he should have went at least 103, especially now that Judkins is Dudkins. But yeah, final answer.
I'm not ready to give up on MHA quite yet. Although, I've been known to hold players a little too long. Pitts.
Sky Moore.
Sky Moore. So, and I do not put Sky Moore in the category of Pitts and Marvin Harrison Jr., but I'm not ready to give him up quite yet. I mean, that's enticing, but mid to late round one, like you said, it gets a little weak depending on the classes. And I'll stick with him another year and see what happens in the middle of the desert.
2026, you want to collect first round picks if you can. If you are not a competing team, go get 2026 first round picks, collect them. They're going to be worth their weight in gold. Sell them during the draft for players. That's my dynasty information for the week, because 2026 draft is going to be stacked, especially for Superflex.
Well, It's funny because I have one league where I think I have actually 3 first-round picks in 2026. So we should
I've
probably.
got
I think you're in that
two in
league.
almost.
I have to talk.
I've got 2 in almost every dynasty league. I've got 2 2026 picks. So
How
but
do you
and
have any picks? Yeah, 2 2026 picks, not first round, 2 picks, period.
No, 2 2026 first round picks. Yes,
I
sir.
do not believe you. You can show me later. You lie.
I'll see you tomorrow.
Okay. Yes, you will. And our final A or B. A, oatmeal raisin cookies, or B, mint chocolate chip ice cream.
Mint chocolate chip ice cream. Boom, hands down. I'm not a fan of raisins. I know it's weird. I mean, I might be on an island by myself, but I am not a raisin guy. I don't enjoy dehydrated grapes. They're not my thing. I do enjoy mint chocolate chip ice cream, which I actually have a story about ice cream, but I don't know if we have enough time to talk about it.
You have 60 seconds to rattle off your story while I finish my cold, delicious water.
So I took instant coffee. I took a shot of espresso, mixed it with hot water and sugar, brown sugar, and I made coffee ice cream that I have been using instead of energy drinks, and it is amazing. Talk about ice cream. So it actually you have to put it in a blender so it mixes up properly. But once you scoop it out, it comes with a pretty good consistency. And if you love coffee, try it out. It's awesome. Sugar, hot water. You have to have hot water to dissolve the instant coffee. Use instant coffee. Don't use regular coffee. All parts equal. 1 cup, 1 cup, 1 cup. And mix it with a hand mixer. You will thank me later if you love coffee.
You absolutely know that I love coffee. I absolutely love ice cream. I absolutely love any kind of dessert and confection. Entirely way too much. But in this case, I go oatmeal raisin cookies. I absolutely love raisins. I love having raisins in everything. I've really kind of moved back from raisins because, well, I'm a slob and I tend to drop food, and raisins are very bad for dogs. So I tend not to have them around as much as I used to. But do
you eat prunes too? You look like you might eat prunes.
So hey, Pudge, let everyone know where you can be found. There's nothing wrong with prunes. Just move on.
I love you, brother. I can be found on Blue Sky at FF LaPudge at fantasynowplus.com, and on X you can find me at FF_LaPudge. Thank you, sir, and let's see where they can find you.
So I can be found at FFCommish_YIS on X, and on Blue Sky, FFCommishYIS at fantasynowplus.com. I want to thank the audience for listening. Our next episode will be Friday, July 25 at 3 p.m. Eastern and noon Pacific. Catch up on episodes of Fantasy Studs and Suds and your other favorite Fantasy Now Plus shows here on YouTube, YouTube Music, Apple Music, and Spotify. Follow the Funz Talk Sports Network here on YouTube. Follow Fantasy Now Plus on Discord, TikTok, Blue Sky, and subscribe to this channel here on YouTube. Until next time, for Pudge LePage, I am the Fantasy Nobody, Jeffrey Crisp. Be good, be kind, be responsible, and cheers.
See ya.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to like and subscribe wherever you watch or listen to podcasts. We'll be back next week for more ways to win your league.